Farm's Saturday night live stream. So we are live here on Saturday night, but wherever you are in the world, I hope you can join us, whether you are over in Oz and it's Sunday morning, or maybe it's mid-afternoon if you're over in the States. Sorry I was a little bit late. I was trying to make my cup of tea, and I also managed to lock myself out of my phone. I've got tea in a very big cup today because I wish I could have it in an IV actually, because I've been working quite hard and I'm quite tired. So as always, if you're watching this on the replay and you're frustrated because you missed the live stream, hit the bell notification next to the subscribe button and you'll be notified every time we go live. I normally go live every Saturday night at 10 p.m. GMT. As always, we're going to look back at the week that was. I'll give you some updates and then we'll go into our sort of our normal chat and Q&A. We have the wonderful Liz Zorab hopefully coming in to moderate again for us tonight, so there'll be no trolling as we've started to experience over the past few weeks. And also Liz made a very good suggestion because the chat does move quite quickly sometimes. If you've got a question tonight, write it in capitals, because then I'm far more likely to catch it when I'm scrolling through the chat. I'll say that again later to remind you guys. But yeah, so if you've got a specific question that you want to ask, just type it out in capitals and I'm far more likely to see it that way. So you might have noticed this past week there wasn't a vast amount of videos, and that's because, well, first we've had the Beast from the East. So if you are not in the UK, the Beast from the East is a huge weather front that came across from Siberia and brought freezing weathers, and it was some of the coldest weather we've had for years here, and with wind chill it was getting down to -20. Up in Scotland they had a red weather warning. It's been pretty bitter, so that was one reason why there wasn't any videos, because I really couldn't get outside very much. The other one was I've been working a lot at my new job, so I was there Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday and today. Clocked up about 50 hours in all this week. And as you can imagine, it's been totally mad. So since the last live stream last week, we have had the smallholding diaries, and I updated you on a few things. So we checked in on our Budgie chick, which is growing and feathering really, really well. But obviously, as you know, it is a little bit disabled. We also checked in on those quails. Quails just grow so quickly. It's unbelievable. So we checked in on those as well. We checked in on the Ixworth and the Silkie chicks, which I wanted to get out this week, but it was so cold. They've moved from the conservatory back into the kitchen. Because yesterday or Tuesday or Wednesday the boiler decided to break, so we had no heat at all, so they moved back into the kitchen, and I'm hoping over the warm weather that is supposed to now come and become March, we'll be able to move those down into the grower's shed and get things running. Now on tomorrow's smallholding diaries there will be updates of all of those things. So there'll be budgie updates, there'll be chick updates, there'll be quail updates, as well as growing updates, because I've still got all my herbs going. And I need to start thinking, because we are in March now, so although we've had that freezing temperature, we are going to quickly rattle on through March and get through to the sowing time, so we really need to get going. So I'll be putting things like spinach, lettuces, carrots, all sorts in over the next few weeks. So that was this past week. Let me just have a quick look to see what I've got down here. So the weather, as I said, yeah, the weather was pretty awful this past week. It's thawed today, which has been really, really nice. Everything started to thaw, although I do hate the thawing, because that's when everything turns to slush and goes horrible. At work and out here, it's been awful because pipes are frozen, drinkers are frozen over, plastic piping is split. We're just not really, really prepared for it. Although I did find that actually, for me personally, the roads weren't too bad, so I managed to get around okay, which is the main thing. So coming forward, we'll have smallholding diaries tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, I'm really excited. We have another chicken check-in, and this time it's all the way from Australia. So make sure you check in for that chicken check-in, because I'm really excited about it. And if you've got chickens as well, I'm still banging on every week. Get involved. All you have to do is pick out your 3 favourite chickens, whether they're pets or your favourite species or your favourite breed, and just talk about them. Say why you keep them. Are they commercial use? Are they meat birds? Do you just keep them because you love them? Maybe you show them. That's all you have to do. About 5 minutes long. You can check out the chicken check-in playlist that we've already got. It's open to anybody that's got chickens, whether you're a smallholder, a commercial farmer, a backyard hobbyist. If you've got chickens, please get involved. So I think that's all I have to update you on, because there's not a vast amount of things. Although, I've just remembered, I do have one prop this week. So, I got something in the post the other day, and you'll see this on Smallholding Diaries tomorrow. I have some eggs. Now these are not chicken eggs. So I know I've told you before I was going to get some guineas and I was going to get some pheasants. Well, these aren't those either. These are actually duck eggs. So we are going to be hopefully running an event at work over the Easter to do with hatching, and to help educate about hatching, the process, how things differ from chicks to quails to ducks. And so I have got these in from a dear friend of mine, and they are khaki Campbells. Now, she sent me 12 and I can only fit 10 in the incubator. They've actually already gone into the incubator. They're due to hatch at the end of March, so I will show you those as they progress. But obviously then they'll be shifted from my house to work. But these we're going to eat, because these two were left over, so we're going to nibble on these and see how they're going. But that's really exciting, because I've never hatched ducks before, and I've never kept ducks before, so I'm kind of intrigued how that's going to work. And of course, coming into March, obviously pheasant eggs are going to start becoming available, guinea eggs are going to start becoming available as well. So that whole process is going to start cracking on. The incubators are going to be whirring up, there's going to be loads of stuff going on. So, let me see who of you is in chat. I will try and scroll back, but if I miss you, just call out. And remember, if you've got specific questions, just holler in capital letters, and I will try and catch them. So, Ross is here. Trees is here. Welcome, Trees. Kat, one of my Patreons, is here. I think I saw Liz scrolling past. Yes, good old Liz is here, my lovely moderator. Thank you. Danielle is here. Thank you, Danielle. She just says, oh my God, that's what I want when I move. Is that the khaki Campbells? I hadn't really heard of them before, but I have been told that they are nutters. That the ducklings are very, very cute. They're a lovely little sort of concrete brown colour, and then they grow up and they're absolute nutters. So we'll see how we feel about that later on. Octopus Prime, Octopus Crime is here. I always want to say octopus, but it is octopus. Sorry. I told you I was tired. I'm going to have another sip. Flora is here. Welcome, Flora. Sandra. Patrick. Anna is here. Calendula is here. So we've got loads in the house. If I haven't called you out, I've missed you, but just keep saying hi, and we'll see how we go. So Ross is just saying, near his location, lots of chickens have been stolen. That's not good, is it? And Liz says the Neil's homestead have 100 khaki Campbell ducklings at the moment, and they are nuts. Crikey, that is 100 of them. I couldn't even imagine having these 10 if they hatch. But 100 khaki Campbells. I don't really know anything about them. Hello, AJ. Welcome to our chat tonight. Yeah, so they're supposed to be quite mad. So we're doing this whole hatching thing, hopefully, to show the differences between quail and ducks and chickens, and we can talk about obviously the different lengths of hatch and things. And the ducks, as you know, I haven't really got anywhere to keep ducks here, so I think we'll be raising some up for meat, and then we'll hopefully keep maybe a trio or a quartet or something just on the farm for educational purposes. But I'm excited to have those duck eggs going, because I'm always ready to try something new. I am trying it slightly different. A lot of what I've read, I know I spoke to Liz about it, and Liz said she doesn't do anything different than she normally does with her chickens. I run my chickens on a completely dry hatch though, and then I put water in at lockdown. So for the first 18 days, my chickens get no water in the incubator at all, and then I pop water in and raise that humidity right up to 70 for hatch. Now with ducks, apparently I've been told differently, and I've tried to be doing some research, and maybe you guys know as well. You can let me know if you have any thoughts on this. But I've been told to keep the humidity quite high and to spray the eggs daily. Now they did come through the post, so they're not being turned for the first 3 days, because I'm going to attempt to reattach any of those air cells that might have become detached in the post, which often they do. And often with posted eggs you also get a saddle. So the saddle air sac is, instead of it sitting, let me get an egg, instead of it sitting at the top as a nice sort of air sac at the top, you tend to get a saddle, which means it kind of comes down either side, if you know what I mean. So it can still hatch very, very easily, and in some ways it actually hatches easier, because sometimes the air cell comes much lower and the chick, or the duckling in this case, can pip through and get the air. But yeah, I just need to keep an eye on those. So that's why I'm not turning them immediately, because if you keep turning them when the air cell is detached, it's going to wibble around all over the place. Let me put those back very carefully on the windowsill so I don't bust them open. Let me scroll down a little bit. So Fringe is here. Ed Jones is here. He says, how do you know if the fermented grains have gone bad? I don't know, because mine haven't gone bad. So I leave it for 3 days. So I've just started a new batch actually. So I leave it for 3 days. I pour them into the water. I keep the water across the top at all times, because that is a sign. So if you let the water drop below the grain level and the grains are exposed to air, they're going to start growing mold as they ferment. So that obviously is a bad sign. As long as they're under the water the whole time, they tend to just keep fermenting. So I've got a bucket. It lasts me about a week. I will fill it up. I'll mix it every day, and I'll keep it for about 3 days, and then I'll start feeding. I don't add any more grain to it at that point, but then that whole rest of the bucket will last another 4 or 5 days probably. So I will just literally scoop out of it. And so the grains at the start of obviously only been fermented for 3 days, and the grains at the end have been fermented for about a week, and they're all fine. You will find that some of the grains start to split as if they're actually starting to germinate, and you'll still get that little ferment smell, the sort of the bubbles at the top on the water. I would just make sure you need to go through it fairly rapidly. You know, I wouldn't have a fermented load of barley sitting there for a month and still be feeding it. It might be good for 7 to 10 days. Just make sure the water is always over the top, because that, if it's not and the grain's poking up above, that's when it's going to start attracting fungi and mold and things like that, and then obviously it will go bad. Dan is in the house. Hello, Dan. And Susie St James is here. Hello, Susie. Patrick says, just thought I'd let everyone know that the barn owl sadly passed away because of a clot on her brain. I was absolutely devastated, and I keep asking myself, what if I did this? Lots more birds in those since. Well, I'm sure you didn't do it, Patrick, because she was hit by a car, wasn't she? Wasn't it a hit and run or something? And birds are really, really fragile, and I know you always do your best with them, so I wouldn't feel terrible. And as you say, lots more birds have come in since. So keep doing what you're doing and keep rehabilitating all these beautiful birds and getting them back in the wild. That's what we want. Kat says, this is, I'm guessing, on the ducks, I thought we needed to keep it humid from day one. Yes, so that's with ducks, I'm fairly sure it is. I originally, when I hatched chickens, I did keep it humid. So I tried to control the humidity between 45 and 50 humidity. It was a nightmare. It would go up, it would go down. It was just really, really hard. And that's because humidity changes, and your humidity in your incubator is not an isolated environment from what's around it. So if the humidity around it goes down, it's going to draw water out of your humidity, so out of your incubator, so it's going to go down, and vice versa. If you've got really, really high humidity outside, then your incubator is going to draw in more vapor, and again, your humidity is then going to shoot up. So it's so difficult to deal with. And, you know, if your chicken is sitting on eggs outside, she's not controlling how much humidity is coming into her eggs. She's just turning them and keeping them warm. So, yeah, so I completely dry hatch now. I know some people that don't even put water in at lockdown. And they just basically wait. When the chicks start pipping, that pipping motion, that external pip, that pushes the humidity up, because then the water and the vapor and the liquid from inside the egg starts to build the humidity in the incubator, and that's what then helps soften the shells and helps everybody out. I prefer to put it up towards the end of hatch, just to make sure they can get out a bit easier. But yeah, with ducks, as far as I've heard, you need to keep the humidity much higher. And I wonder whether that's because ducks will get off the nest and go and drink and go and bathe, and then they'll come back to their nest with moisture on their feathers. And so, as part of evolution, perhaps, eggs have just got used to being nearer to water sources and often covered in water, because mum comes back to sit on them and she's still damp. Maybe. Liz says, this is on the ferment. I think they smell very sour if they've gone bad. Yeah, I mean the smell is kind of is that typical fermented smell. It reminds me, my dad, when we were young, my dad used to make homebrew beer under the stairs, and obviously he would ferment hops for that. So it reminds me of that. So it's a fermenty smell, but it's not an unpleasant smell. I think if you stick your nose over and it's a really, really horrible smell, a very sour smell, as Liz has pointed out, it's probably off. And just a reminder, everybody, if you've got any questions in particular to ask, type them in capitals, and then they won't get missed throughout the chat. We'll make sure we can try and keep them. So another question on the ferment. Ed has said, do you ferment in the house at room temperature? Yes, I do. So my bucket is literally just in my kitchen, just so I can pop it up and put more water in it from the sink. My sack of barley is there too. So yeah. And Liz is saying, Jeff, your clock is 10 minutes slow. I know. My clock, so this clock was given to me. It's quite an old clock, but it doesn't keep time. Even when it's wound up to the maximum extent, it doesn't keep time. So I will put it, if I write it today and put it at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or whenever we end, if I put it right, it will gradually, by the end of the week, it'll be 10, 15 minutes out again. But I quite like it as a clock, and it was a gift, so I know. Ross says, could it be a quarter hour chime? Sadly, no. Half an hour and on the hour, and it's totally out. Susie says, fermented grains that go have smell foul. You'll know, just like milk has gone bad. Yeah, but my sense of smell isn't that great either, because the number of times I've smelt milk and I've been like, oh, that's fine, and I've poured it into my tea, and then it's all gone chunky. Gross. Jack, welcome to the chat, Jack. Jack says, do your silkies go broody often? Yes, they do. I would always say with silkies lay quite well, but in my experience, silkies kind of lay according to a more natural bird. So instead, what I mean by that is, if you get a commercial hen or a hybrid hen or many chickens, they'll just lay an egg every day or every other day, and it will just keep going. And sometimes they'll get broody, but they'll generally just keep going. I find with silkies tend to like to lay a clutch. So you might have a hen silkie, and she will lay maybe 12 to 15 eggs over the space of a month or so. And then once she's done, she will then go broody, and she will want to sit on them. And then if you've taken them all away, even if you have taken them away, she will still go broody. She'll then break that broodiness, she'll recover for a month or so, and then she'll start laying another clutch. So I find they're much more sort of like you would expect in the wild, trying to lay a clutch of eggs and then trying to incubate them, and that's why they go broody, and that's why they make good broodies, because they go down so quickly. And I mean, some silkies, literally, you just have to look at them and they'll go broody. You just have to go to the nest box. She might be running around, you put in 10 eggs, she sees them, she goes and sits on them, and that's her done. She's off. So yes, they do go broody very, very often. So silkies aren't great if you want egg production, but they're great if you want broodies and good mothers, and they're great if you just want some lovely pets. Anna has said, I had fox prints leading up to my chicken coop this morning. I know it's horrible. I bought galvanized wire, the green one. It's 5 meters by 1 meter high, just as an added precaution. Very, very wise. We have had foxes in all this week, and I haven't let... A, the weather's been terrible this week, so I haven't let the chickens out much. But B, there's been fox prints in the snow all week, and I did actually see the dog fox. So the same, we have basically one fox that comes here. So that same dog fox that came in and caught the chickens earlier in the year, he was a magnificent, beautiful looking creature. Just 2 months, maybe even only 6 weeks of this bad weather where he's not had so much food, and he looks awful. So it just shows how quickly they go downhill when they haven't got enough food. So he's been scraping around a lot of the night. So I'm taking extra precautions too. And also when I go to work, because we've had the snow, there are fox prints everywhere. So we've been making sure all of our chickens are shut up really, really well at work as well, because there are foxy tracks everywhere in the morning. Alyssa at Moat Cottage is here. So hello from Australia. Hello from the UK. It's almost... that just reminded me of Eurovision. I feel like I should be giving you points for something. Kat says she'll try dry hatching chicks for next time. Thanks for the tip. No, there's no problem at all, because it would just drive me mad with the whole hatching thing, trying to constantly get this humidity right. If you get that temperature bang on, get a even if it's got an integrated thermometer, especially the digital ones, go onto Brinsea, buy a Brinsea thermometer. They're not very expensive, and they actually have a set 37.5 marker, so you know the exact place where it should be. Pop that in the incubator as well, just to make sure it's actually regulating the right temperature and the digital one's not off. And then forget about humidity. Just forget it. If you really want to do something about it, monitor the air cells. And because the air cell should grow from the top. I'm going to get my egg again. So your air cell starts up here quite small, and over the course of the hatch it will move down and down and down. And that's why often when you go online and you look at eggs and hatching, people have lines across their egg because they're drawing where the air cell was. And you want your air cell by the end of the hatch to be kind of like that. I think it's 50% they need to lose, or something like that, of moisture. So you can monitor your air cells and how fast they're growing and change it as required. So obviously if you're doing a dry hatch and your air cells are growing too much, too quickly, put some water in. And then that will reduce the loss of water and moisture from your egg, and it will reduce the amount that air cell is growing. The whole problem with the whole air cell thing is if the air cell gets too large, the chick has no room to move around, and it then gets stuck when it comes to hatch. It can't zip out. If it's too small, internal pips, and it doesn't have enough air. So the humidity is important, and the air cell growth is very important, but it's very, very hard to get right. So I do find that just doing a dry hatch is often best. And as long as you're monitoring your eggs, and you can draw on where the air cell is, and you can candle them properly and make sure that chick's still alive, you should be all right. I always feel with these things, you can... The more knowledge you get, the more you can do. But there are certain times when it starts to get a bit OTT, and actually you just need to dial it back and just let nature take its course almost. Buddy Mojo, Mandy is here. Welcome to the chat, Mandy. She says, where do you keep the bucket of grain? So my bucket of grain is just in the corner of my kitchen by my conservatory. So it's away from radiators. It's not anywhere there, but it just has the ambient temperature of the house. So it's not super cold and it's not super hot. It's just kind of an ambient, steady temperature. And we're talking about rats. In the chat I can see. I haven't had any rats here. I've still got mice, mind you. Ed Jones says, thank you for the fermenting info. No problem. If you've got any questions about that, again, during the week, just please let me know. Shubs says, how many chickens do you think I could fit in my homemade coop? It's 1.8 foot by 2 foot. 1.8 foot. Feet or meters? Because 1.8 feet is quite small because so there's 3 foot to a meter. So I wouldn't, if you're talking meters, you could probably keep a couple of chickens in that. But if you're keeping foot, you wouldn't be able to. And thank you for your comment as well, Shubs, on the chicken keeping rule video the other day. Shubs kind of highlighted the fact that some of those chicken keeping rules are ridiculous. And they are, but that's what the British government says, so we have to go by their rules. Alana is here. Hello, Alana. Welcome to the chat. She's had a nap. I could do with a nap myself. I will be crawling into bed after this. Dan Robinson says, aren't Muscovies good at vermin control? Well, if they are, I didn't know that, and that would be really, really good, because I do love Muscovies, so another string to their bow would be even better. Anna says, Jeff, how is work going? Work is going brilliantly. This week I clocked quite a few hours, so I think I did almost 50 hours this week. Not just there, but with other work as well. But it's going really, really well. We've been lambing. We've got goat kids. You all probably know by now I'm a little bit scared of pigs. I find them a bit scary and daunting. I think it's the intelligence thing. You can look in their eye and they look intelligent, and also they've got strong jaws. They can really chomp you. But I've been making sure that every day I'm in, I always go and see the pigs. And if somebody needs to muck out the pigs, I will go and muck out the pigs. And I'm finding that I'm actually starting to love them. They're funny little characters, and they all like their own little ways of treatment in the morning. So I've learned that the piglets will attack me, but if I give the piglets straw first and play with them a little bit, they will just go off and snuffle in the straw and leave me alone. The same with their mum. I found that if I give her a good back scratch with straw, she will just be perfectly content. And then we've got a Gloucester Old Spot in pig. So in pig means pregnant. And she's due to farrow, I think, next month. And she likes to just be mounded up with straw. So it's really, really good. Even, I think I said when I was in on Tuesday, even though it was like -13 with wind chill, it was bitter, everything was frozen, it was a nightmare on the roads to try and get there, I still had a really, really good day. So it's going really, really well. I'm excited. Shub says, I like the Arabic canvas in the background. Thank you very much. It's really, really nice. It's Sard found it online when we first moved in here, and it's taken that centre spot ever since. Hello from Iraq. Thank you for joining us. Sandra says, we have gulls who sit on the roof all year round. Apparently that keeps the rat population down. Oh, we could do with some gulls then. Marina the Passionate Gardener is here. Thank you for stopping in. I noticed on your Facebook, Marina, that you have some more chicks. So Marina did one of the chicken check-ins with her beautiful buff Orpingtons, and then she sadly lost one recently. But I noticed, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I saw a very nicely presented little picture of some little black, were they black Australorps? So I'm going to have to go and check out your YouTube channel tomorrow if I remember. I've been so busy with work I haven't had a chance to go over to everybody's YouTubes and check it out. But Marina has got new chicks, so I need to go and see them. Deanna Martin says, I put nest boxes up in my barn. How do I get hens to use them? They lay eggs on the barn floor. Oh no. So the first question would be, are your hens ex-battery? Because ex-battery hens have never laid in boxes, and so they sometimes need a little bit of help. And you can literally just in the morning pick them off the floor, put them into the nest boxes, and hopefully they'll eventually get the idea. The other thing I would say, what did you say? You put up nest boxes in your barn. I would look at what the entryway is like to them. Do they actually have to fly up into them? Have they just got a little plinth across that they have to go across? Chickens can be a little bit stupid when it comes to working out where to lay, and I have some personally as well that will just lay on the floor. If you've got a lot of bedding on the floor, a lot of straw, I often find they can't be bothered to go and find a nest box, because why would they? They've got loads of straw everywhere. So I'd look at, if they're expats, or you could do this even if they're not expats, lift them up when you can. When you go in the morning, maybe lift a few up and put them into nest boxes and see how they do. Check the flooring, make sure the floor's got not too much stuff, not too much bedding in it, because they've got no reason to go to a nest box if it's really nice on the floor. And then third, just check the entryways as well. Make sure they're accessible. Even, you might have a perch that looks reasonably big and good for them, but they just don't understand that's what they're supposed to do. Chickens can take a while to clock on as well what they're doing. Fringe Dweller says, Fringe Dweller, I think I just said Dweller. Fringe Dweller says, I bought a tea strainer and some loose tea after the chat last week. Ah, great, that's good to know. Am I right in thinking that used loose tea is good for plants? I don't know. I actually don't know about that. I know that coffee grounds can be used as a slug deterrent, and I personally do use it around some hostas to help. And tea bags are miraculous at curing eye problems in chicks. So sometimes, and I personally read this once and was like, nah, you've got to be joking me. That's just, some herbal nonsense, but it works. So a cold tea bag, a cold used tea bag, so it's been used to make tea. It's gone cold, just held over the eye of a chick maybe with a bit of a dodgy eye. A couple of days later, chick was totally fine again. So that's another little herbal medicine, I guess, for those chicks. But in terms of loose tea is good for plants, I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to look that up and see what we can find out about that. Mish is here. Hi Mish, welcome to the chat tonight. So hello everyone, we just got 4 chickens today. Oh, congratulations on your new chickens. I'm so excited to get to know them. Your channel has been really great while getting ready and excited for them. Can't wait to see the farm in a video one day. Yeah, so the farm where I work at, I have done a video. I wasn't actually working there when I did the video, but if you check back about 5 weeks, it was a Monday one, and I think it was called... In fact, I can actually look it up right now. Welcome to Barleylands or something like that. So that's the farm where I work at, and then obviously we have the land up in Suffolk. So there are, if you look through the playlist, there is some farm vlogs, and that's all of the stuff about the farm that I have, my land, up in Suffolk, that you can take a look at. I'm just looking at this video. Yeah, so it was on the 29th of January. It's called Birds of Prey, Pregnant Sheep and Cows. And that was Barleylands. So that was the day that we actually went to Barleylands just as tourists, just to look round. And then I think 3 days later, both of us had jobs there, which is still kind of insane. But yeah, if you want to check that out, you can go and watch that. And then you'll get an idea of the animals that I'm working with and what's going on. AJ says, we got 10 to 12 inches of snow, so I can't plant out my beets and carrots like I wanted to. I spent a very long time getting the beds ready and now they're frozen over. I know, mine are the same. Although they're not frozen, but now they're absolutely soaking wet because all the ice and the snow has melted. And the garden is a bit of a swamp, so I'm not really even letting the dogs out there at the moment because they're just going to trash it. So I hope that this thaw goes quickly and everything starts to dry. Marina says, yes, so she got 5 black Australorp baby chicks. That's so cute. She says, do you have any black Australorp? I don't have any Australorps at all. I don't even really know what an Australorp looks like as an adult. So I'm going to look it up. I'm also being a bit confused this week about Brahmas and Winadots. I know to the people that keep Brahmas and Winadots, they must look completely different. But I think we've got a few mixed hybrids where I work. So I've been trying to work out what they are. Robert's Farm is in. Hello, welcome to the chat, Robert's Farm. I'm glad to see you here tonight. Oh, and Liz has a question. Liz has a response to Fringe Dweller's questions about tea, loose tea being good for plants. And she says, I always thought that they were. But then recently, Liz saw something saying caffeine is a growth inhibitor. How interesting. Okay, we need to look this up. And I'm going to look this up over the coming week, and then maybe next week on next week's chat we can put this to bed once and for all and work out whether loose tea helps plants or inhibits plants. Mo Cottage says, I love points. I am obviously quite behind in the chat, I've just realised, because I'm only on 20 past 10. Yeah, so I'm about 15 minutes behind. So if I haven't got to your question yet, I will get to it. It's coming. So Jack Donnelly says, could you leave eggs in the coop for them to sit on? Yes, you could. Now, broody hens, generally, we will take broody hens away from the rest of the flock, just because they tend to get picked on, because they basically separate themselves from the normal pecking order, which means when they get off the nest to do their broody poo, which stinks, and go and have some food and water, they kind of separated themselves from the pecking order, and so they go off to get their food and water, and then the other chickens are like, oh, what are you doing now? And then they go and peck them. You won't normally find that other hens and cockerels will go onto the nest and do anything with the nest, but they often do pick on the chickens. So we normally remove the broody and her eggs to a separate coop and let her sit on them there in peace. The other thing is when they start to hatch, that can become an issue if your coop has too many chickens in it for the space. It might be perfectly fine for all those chickens to be in there normally, but then when you've got a hen and she's hatching chicks out, it might not be the best way. So you can leave eggs in to be brooded, and I have done before, but then normally when they've hatched, I take them out. And if I can get there before, I will take my broody away with her eggs, and I'll keep her somewhere separate, just so I can monitor her better. Dan says, we have a breeding pair of foxes living near our farm. A fantail dove has also been coming to the farm. I went out yesterday to find the dove's feathers all over the yard. He was called Dave. R.I.P. Dave. Oh, bless him, the fantail dove. The problem is, it had already been quite a long winter for these foxes, and in January they were starting to mate, and we heard all the mating calls, and then we've had this awful cold patch, so they're just ravenous. So that's why they're going to sort of these extra lengths, I guess, to try and catch prey. And at the end of the day, all of us chicken keepers have the ideal prey for them, so... Ross says, I once hatched some chicks in a polystyrene box with a 40-watt light bulb, blimey, and a baking thermometer. That's quite impressive. If the eggs are good, it's surprisingly easy to get some to hatch. It was a fun project. Yeah, that must be really fun. And you're right, they are surprisingly easy to hatch if kind of everything is clocked up and stacked up in the right way. Go have a tea. Oh, lovely. You know, this is the other problem with working long days. I only get about 2 cups of tea a day. I normally drink about 20 cups. So only having 2 cups a day is killing me. So I'm making up for it at lost time. Deanne Martin is mentioning solar-powered predator lights keep foxes away. They work wonderfully. Well, yeah, they do. I had loads of solar-powered predator lights until somebody came into my garden to break into my sheds and broke them all. So I do need to get some more, actually, because, again, I would like to put some of those around my Silkie coop just to safeguard it. And soon we're going to be in the massive chick season, so I'm going to have chicks everywhere as well, and I'm going to obviously have to put more coops out, so I'll have to get some more of those. Mandy's going to go and get a big bag of barley tomorrow. I'm going to go and get some more barley as well, and some lettuce pellets. I need to do that. Shubs is just saying on the homemade coop, yes, it's quite small. Yeah, so if it is in feet, you wouldn't be able to keep any chickens in that. You might be able to keep some quail. If you've watched a quail video, which I just have to say has done miraculously, and it's just a video about quail, but it's got over 130,000 views now, which is utterly bizarre and staggering. But I think it shows the interest in quail. So you could keep Coturnix quail and something like that. You could probably keep a little quartet or 5 maybe. Ross is saying 100% guarantee you have at least one rat. Sorry, we'll definitely have a visitor even if you haven't got a nest. Oh no, I totally agree. Rats are everywhere. Well, I have had a rat in my garden. Bo caught it in her mouth. It squeaked. She dropped it. It ran away. So I don't think that rat came back because it obviously had been caught and got away within an inch of its life. But yes, we're never far from a rat. I know we have mice in the house. That's part of the problem here. Our house is a holy house. It has lots of little places where mice can scramble in, and we hear them running across the ceiling. And in fact, we had the whole house rewired when we moved in here initially. And a couple of weeks ago, a mouse chewed through one of the wires and took out all the power upstairs. Blimmin' thing. So yes, that wasn't very fun. So, but we haven't had any rats in the house, so I'd try and avoid that if possible. Tom Johnsey is here. Hello, welcome to the chat tonight, Tom. Ross is saying, put golf balls in nest boxes. It works how I train my expats to lay in a box. Yes, so that's another very, very good tip if you are trying to get your chickens to lay in an egg box. An egg box? A nest box. Yes, so use an egg-shaped thing. So like a golf ball would work really, really well. And we do that in the canary industry as well, because canaries... I'm going off on a complete tangent, but canaries lay eggs. Like budgies, canaries lay an egg every other day, but unlike budgies, they don't properly feed all those babies. So as canary breeders want all the chicks to hatch out on the same day so they all have the best survival, and this is what got me onto that. You can buy dummy eggs that you put in the nest, into the nest, and that helps them lay into that nest, and also means you can take those eggs away and put them back at the right time so they all hatch together. But yes, Ross is very right. Anything like a golf ball, or you can even buy like wooden egg shaped for this purpose, and you put that in there, and that can help them. If you want them to go broody, leaving loads of those in at once can help a hen go broody, but it also show chickens where they're supposed to lay, because they will lay everywhere if they can. Tom says quail eggs in the incubator and ready to hatch for Mother's Day. Fantastic. That's really, really great. I'm about to put some more in myself. Obviously, you saw from the hatch, I had all those eggs, but we only got 8 actually hatch in the end. And I think it's the season. It's the middle of winter. We've only got my younger hens laying. The boys are doing some of their business because I see them mating constantly, and I see the foam that they're secreting from that gland. But obviously, I think the temperature affected the fertility of the eggs a little bit. Octopus Crime is saying, I hear your cat, Jeff. Yeah, the cat. I don't know where he's gone now. Oh, he's sat right over there. You can't see him. He's kind of... Oh my, I'm never very good at this. He's down here. Or maybe you can just see him. You can just see the end of him. But he's a yowler. So he's 19 years old. He's deaf as a post. He forgets where his food is. So he's got a little bit of kitty dementia as well. And he just walks around the house yowling constantly, which is kind of nice, but then it's kind of irritating when it's happening at 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m., 3 a.m., 3:30 a.m. So you tend to end up screaming at him and then feeling really, really bad and inviting him into bed for a cuddle. Bless him. Just scrolling up. There's so much chat going on. I love this. This is really, really good to see everybody chatting. Po66600 is here. Welcome to the chat tonight. And Tom says, please do some more quail videos. Certainly, I'm happy to do some more quail videos. What would you like to see? Tell me the sort of things you would like to see. Obviously, I've done the 6 reasons to keep quail, and I've done the quail sexing video. I am going to be building some new coops for my quail. I actually want to take my quail out of the aviary because it just gets too muddy in there for them. And I'm going to actually put them into sort of wire mesh hutches with an inbuilt sand bath for them, and make that really nice. So I'll do a video on that. My DIY skills are not great, so we're going to be learning as we go and trying to sort this out, because I need to get some good, decent DIY skills for the future. So I'm going to be doing that. And obviously we have the quail chick hatching videos and things like that. But if you've got a specific quail video idea that you want to see, just let me know, and I will see if I can do something, because I would also like to get some more varieties of quail. I have my Chinese button quail, but they're just ornamental. I would like to get some bob whites, and I would like to get maybe some California quail. So there will be more quail on the horizon, I'm sure. So Kat says, oh yeah, almost forgot. The no crow collars aren't working. My boys' crows sound weird, and they crow slightly less, but they are just as loud. I need to think of something else. Oh, I've got cramp in my leg. Ow. Cramp. Yeah, so crow collars are quite difficult to use. They can muffle the sound and they can quieten the sound, but yes, you have to there's a sweet spot basically, and every cockerel, the sweet spot is slightly different. So I would suggest keep on fiddling with them until you find an alternative. Keep fiddling with them, and try moving them up the throat, down the throat, into different places. And yet they still do crow. So you're not going to be able to stop them crowing. So the no crow collars don't actually do what they say on the tin. They aren't no crow collars because your cockerels will still crow. The idea is that they will be muffled and they won't crow as much. But yeah, so while you're kind of searching for something to do, I've got cramp again in my leg. Ow! While you're finding something else to do, I would keep trying to move those crow collars and see if you can find that sweet spot. Susan St. James is saying, used tea leaves and coffee grounds change the pH of the soil. Yeah, very true. So depending on your soil and your plant, some plants like acid and some like alkaline. Yeah, that's a very good point actually when it comes to putting additives into soil. Even if it's just something as simple as coffee grounds or tea leaves, you are actually possibly changing your pH of the soil. And Alana's saying it sounds like an experiment in the making. It does. I think it would be very, very good. Robert's Farm says, I have some serious issues. I can't stop putting eggs into my incubator. Oh yeah, we know that feeling. Chicken math, and then chicken math spills over into duck math or quail math or goose math, and then it's really the end of life, because then just poultry takes completely over everything. So I know where you are there. Tracy is here. Welcome, Tracy. I'm glad you managed to pop in, Tracy. Tracy's over in Belgium and was wondering about the time for our live chat tonight. So it's really, really nice to see you, Tracy. And yes, I learned how to chat. Yes, you did. Great. That's really, really good. I'm happy you're here. So Anna is asking, my local store ran out of straw, so I'm using hay at the moment. Which is best to use in your opinion? So I only use straw. The best out of everything is something more absorbent, because straw isn't actually that absorbent. So in my grower's shed, I actually use shavings. I buy it in massive compacted bags, which is actually sold as horse bedding, but it's compacted wood shavings. So that I use in there, and that is more absorbent. The problem with straw is straw doesn't really have a very absorbent property about it. So it is good as kind of just a base, sort of the base material for your coop. But it won't absorb all the poo. It won't absorb spilt water. Hay tends to be more expensive because hay is for eating. So I wouldn't use necessarily hay for chickens. You could use hay for the nesting boxes, but I wouldn't use it as a bedding, just because you're buying a more expensive product which still isn't absorbent, and chickens won't eat. So if you were using hay, if you had horses or goats and you'd run out of straw, you could use hay and they would eat some of it. But yeah, so I would stick to straw if you can, and I would possibly also look for big bales of compacted sort of horse bedding. There's stuff called Easy Bed. There's stuff called there's just the general sawdust, which I use, and a big bag of this sawdust is £6, and it lasts me for months. So definitely have a look at those options as well. Tracy says she was trying to chat on the Facebook page. Yes, so that's why it wasn't working. Yeah, you have to come across to YouTube to chat on the live stream. Brian is in. Hello, Brian. So Brian from Allotment Life is here. Brian has been planting and sowing tons of stuff, so I need to go and check your channel out as well and see what you've been up to. Anna is saying, drink plenty of water at work, Jeff. Yeah, I'm trying. I am trying to remember. I'm also got really chapped fingers at the moment from being out in that really blisteringly cold weather. I've got some of this. So it's called O'Keeffe's Working Hands Hand Cream. It is working a little bit, but I noticed today where it's starting to chap all around the end of my fingers where it's been so cold. And, you know, we're lifting. I don't wear gloves because we're lifting bales of hay, we're lifting things of manure, we're lifting all sorts. So I need to drink more water and I need to take care of these more. Is it the lack of tea or the lack of sugar you miss? Susie is asking the lack of tea. I don't take sugar in my tea. It's the lack of tea. And more specifically, it's the lack of caffeine. I actually get caffeine withdrawal headaches, which is not a good thing. So actually probably being limited in my amount of tea that I can drink is probably a good thing. Because whenever I go to the States, I don't have my trusty old British tea bags and milk, and there's never enough caffeine. And I don't drink coffee, so that's always a bad thing. Shubs is talking about the homemade hen coop. It says, I kept 2 chickens in there last year. They lived happily until I returned them to the guy I got them from. My uncle as winter came and I didn't have heat lamps, etc. to keep them warm. Chickens are very, very hardy. And they can be outside. So if your coop hasn't got an inside bit, you can still just cover it in a tarpaulin or something. I know several people here in the UK that keep their chickens all year round in chicken tractors. And a chicken tractor is basically an open meshed frame that has wheels on so they can move it around. There's no specific indoor coop bit on those chicken tractors. They just have one end which is covered in a tarpaulin, just to keep the rain off and to shut some of the wind out. But in terms of cold, chickens are extremely hardy, and in fact they tolerate cold more than heat. And they also want to be more open air, because what chickens really don't like is an enclosed space where the droppings and the ammonia builds up, and that gets into their respiratory tract, and that can open them up to all sorts of respiratory illnesses and things like that. So actually, if you're worried about having to give them back because you didn't have heat lamps, you actually don't. That's not necessarily needed. If you can put them in a sheltered position and cover the roof of your coop to something that's going to help shut out the wind and shut out some of the rain, actually chickens would be completely fine. Unless, of course, it snows and it completely covers the coop, obviously, within common sense. But yeah, chickens can do really, really well outside all year round. Octopus Crime said, sorry everyone, I'm going to have to go as struggling with my internet connection. Take care of Jeff, see you next Saturday. Bye Octopus Prime. I've probably missed you already because that was probably a while ago. But I hope your internet connection isn't too dodgy, and I will see you next week. Cottage says she bought dummy eggs on eBay for $3.50 Australian dollars for 12, and you can get all sorts of colours. Oh, there we go. So if you haven't got access to golf balls, as Ross said, to help get your expats to lay in the right place, or your chickens to lay in the right place, you can buy dummy eggs, which is also kind of fun if they're different colours. Marina also has to go. Have a wonderful week, guys, she says. Have a wonderful weekend as well, Marina, and I hope you have fun with those chicks, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Tracy says, I've got a Silkie on 3 eggs. Brilliant. She's been brooding for weeks. The first lot didn't survive, so I'm hoping this time I'll get a hatch. I hope they do. Let us know in the Facebook group, and please post pictures when they start pipping. Mandy would like a step-by-step on keeping quail, basically an idiot's guide. So like a dummy's guide to keeping quail. Okay, that should be fairly easy because I was pretty much a dummy when I started. When I started out, I didn't know anything at all. We, in fact... Did we buy them on a whim? I think they might be another of Sard's let's buy quail on a whim thing. I'm fairly sure that's what happened. I'm fairly sure that's what happens most of the time around here, which is not best practice, everyone. Research first. But we tend... Because the thing is, because we kind of know poultry, and because we have random coops just lying around empty, we do sometimes just buy stuff when we see it, which we shouldn't do at all. Alyssa's saying, have a drink of your tea. Okay, I will. There's nothing better. I've been using this big cup as well to take to work because it means that I can fill it to here. I need to buy one of those cups with the top on, so when I'm going driving it doesn't spill out, but I haven't got one yet. So when I fill it to here, I can still go around corners without sloshing it out. And then when I come to like a traffic light where I've got to sit there for a couple of minutes, I can have a quick slurp. Because I'm one of those people that you just, if I worked in an office, you don't talk to me until I've had my tea. Because I'm not a very nice person without my morning cup of tea. And it's a bit the same with Sard as well. When he goes to work, everybody at his work knows, don't talk to Sard until he's had his cup of tea. Robin is saying magnesium for leg cramps. Thank you. It's probably because I've been working so much and I've been run down. And so even with my gardening job, I've got a pedometer. It's not very good. It's on my phone. It's a GPS one on inbuilt into my Samsung phone. Even when I was doing my gardening job, I would clock maybe 14 or 15,000 steps. So well over the 10,000, but 14 or 15. Today I've clocked up 27,000. And I'm generally over 20,000 steps per day at this new job. So it's great for keeping me healthy and walking around, but I think my body is taking a bit of a hit as a result. Nola is saying, tried your advice on just putting a mouse trap where they run with a human possum trap and caught the rat we had seen. Yes, well done, Nola. I'm really happy. That's really, really great. Now, I will say I'm taking some of my own advice with another mouse that's in the house and it's not working. I've even put a little bit of cheese in there. So we have a mouse in the bird room, the spare room, because obviously it's the perfect place for a mouse to live because it can run around at night. It can climb into all the cages and eat their seed. So it's perfect for this little mouse. And also there's a bed with loads of storage underneath it where we store lots of bedding. So I'm hating the day where I'm going to have to pull that out because I'm probably going to find a mouse nest. But I put a mouse trap down and I put some cheese in it. Nothing yet. Nothing at all. So I'm going to have to keep persevering. But I'm glad that you got that rat because rats are the worst. PO666-100 says, I have 12 hatching eggs arriving on Monday. Can I expect a lower fertility rate due to the cold weather? Do the cockles remain as horny when it's cold? It's down to the individual cockerel, for starters. They generally do have lower fertility during the winter. And that's often because your cockerel isn't at it as much. Barry is at it no matter what. And I do see my cockerels mating all through the year, but generally, yeah, your fertility can be lower during the winter months. And also because you've had them, you say they're arriving on Monday, so I'm guessing they're coming through the post. So again, your fertility will probably be lower because they've been posted. And that's just a problem because the postman or Royal Mail or whoever you're having them shipped through, they just don't care. So they'll throw them all over the place. And many eggs can survive that, but I would expect a lower hatching rate from winter eggs and from hatching eggs in the post. I would make sure, don't set them as soon as you get them. Don't start incubating. You can even put them in the incubator, just don't turn it on immediately. Set them for about 24 hours, tip end down, and let that air sac reattach a little bit, and then that will hopefully get you a better hatch rate. Anna, this is in terms of the chicken shavings. Anna says, I used the shavings, just can't believe they ran out of straw. I need to visit a bigger store, Pets at Home, tomorrow or Monday. Yes, and I would also look up feed stores because Pets at Home and places like that are aimed at residences and people that have got pets. And so you'll be able to buy straw, but you'll have to buy it in bags, which cost a ton. My feed store sells a bale of straw, so a big bale of straw for £2.50, which is amazing. So I would go online and see, I'm sure you must have a local feed store near you. It might be a little trek into the countryside. It might be an equine centre even, which sells big packs of stuff for horses, but it's definitely worth looking around. Before I found this place, I was also paying 11 or 12 quid a bag for layers pellets. and I now pay 6. So you'll find in these places that are more geared towards larger scale farmers and smallholders and things like that, your prices are way cheaper. So definitely go and have a look for that. Anna says, "Could you buy a large flask to take to work, Jeff?" Yes, I think I really need to. But the thing is, I can't really carry it around the park all day with me, and it's certainly in this past week I've been having so many layers of clothing. That is, I think I had like 7 layers on today. But it would be good to have a flask of tea down in my animal barn. Danielle says she uses a poultry store called Unibed. Yeah, Unibed is really good. On Amazon, it's 20 kilogram bag and it's only $10.99 and lasts me ages. That's the really nice thing with these really compacted bags of stuff. They look like a small bag, but actually, once you get using them, they last forever. It's the same with the Verdo horse pellets that I've talked about that I use in my brooders, and also for cat litter. I use it for my cat litter as well. It's basically a really compacted wood chip pellet. So it's completely recyclable. It's £6 for a bag, and the bags are maybe this. So they're not massive, they're at £6, and you think, oh, that's actually quite expensive for that, but it lasts forever because it really, smallest point of moisture, the capsules kind of pop and go into all of this shaving, and it's really great. I love it. Shubs is saying, who's Sard? Also, I agree, a Quail guide would be great. Yes, so I will do a Craig, and Sard is my husband. So that's who Sard is. And he's currently asleep on the sofa. He's had a hard day as well. Because he was working at the Imperial Bird Centre today. So I was in the park, and he was in the Birds of Prey Centre. And there were only 3 of them over there, so they had to get through all of the birds, all the cleaning, flying them, feeding them. So it was quite a tiring day for everybody. Alana says she's a coffee person. I'm not a nice person in the morning before I've had a strong black Americano. That's great. And Liz says, a bath with Epsom salt gives you a good dose of magnesium. Oh, that's good. Not very helpful with baths take an age to run. Yeah, so that's the other. Yeah, we have a bath that takes an age to run. If you want a full bath in our house, you've got a half an hour wait for this bath. It's ridiculous. And Alana says 27,000 steps is loads. I know. I think it says this. My phone that I'm filming this on is the pedometer, so I can't shut it down and look. I think it said it was 14 miles. And also, I know that it's actually more than that because so instead of a Fitbit or something that attaches to you and counts as you go, the ones in the Samsung are kind of a GPS one, and they don't always pick up if you're walking back over short periods. So if I'm walking from here down to the bottom of my road, yeah, they'll pick it up. But sometimes if I walk from here to the end of the room and back again, it doesn't pick that up. So yeah, I've probably done way more than 27,000, which is mad. Nola says, Jeff, use a nail file to make the mouse trap trigger with a lighter weight, then you'll get the little ones. What a good idea. That's a very good idea because I think they are little ones in there. I'd like to catch them. Alana said, we have mouse footprints in the snow by the bird food at the end of the garden, but none at all by the chicken coop, which was good. Yes, because the chickens probably ate them. They probably went down and the snow was falling, and then the chickens ate them all. So there was no tracks back because the snow had come down and covered it all. We hope. Anyway. So Brian says, try jam on the mousetrap. That's a good idea. I think I'd fallen for the let me put cheese on it. But yeah, that's a good idea actually. I might try some jam. I've got some nice plum jam that I made. They'll like that. Shub says, what do you think of chicken wire, or should I get aviary wire, as I've had a chicken coop last year, which was great. But now I'm making it a bigger coop. It's going to be a 5-star hotel coop. Perfect. I would prefer aviary wire simply because I don't think chicken wire is very strong in terms of a fox deterrent. Chicken wire tends to be quite flimsy, So it's really, really great for perimeters, and it's really, really great for just setting out stuff in the day. So if you're going to let your chickens kind of come out, but you want a perimeter where they can't get past, chicken wire is great. But chicken wire isn't actually that sturdy in terms of keeping foxes out. So I would, if you've got the budget and it's either chicken wire or ivory mesh, I would go for ivory mesh because it tends to be on the stronger side, and it takes more for a fox to get through it. Tracy says she thought straw wasn't good because of red mite. I'm not sure. I mean, I've always used straw, and I've never had red mite. Maybe I've just been lucky. I don't know. So I know lots of people. I'm fearing the day I get red mite because I will. Everybody gets red mite. The same as they say everybody will have a fox attack at some point. Everybody will have red mite at some point. So far, I've been lucky, but I fear the day I get it because it's horrible. Ross says, Jeff is spot on. My local farm stores are more than 50 to 60% cheaper than commercial pets at home. And it's the same because these big commercial stores are aiming at people with small numbers of pets and lots of disposable income. So if you can find a feed store that's near, they're often out in the country, but you can just do like a feed store or an equine store, check on Google or something, and you'll often find they are way cheap. We get our dog food there, it's way cheaper. My one also sells loads of Budgie food. They're saying I get a 20 kilogram bag of Budgie food for £20, and if I buy it in the store, it's $9.99, I think, for a bag that's 3 or 4 kilograms. So again, you can see the difference in price there. So it's well worth, even if you've got to drive out to it a little way, it's well worth it because you can actually, if you bulk buy and can store, you can save a lot of money. Freedom Joy later saying, Jeff, mice love chocolate. A rent-a-kill guy told me that, and they use it as bait. Oh, that's a good idea as well. But the thing is, I love chocolate too, and I love jam. I don't want to give it all to them. Although, actually, this is good because then I can say I've only bought this chocolate bar because I need to give it to the mice. But they only need the one square, right? So I can eat the rest. So that's a really, really good idea. Going to do that. Going to use that going forward. And Ross is Ross is doing a bit of a calculation here. Layers is 20 kilograms, £6. Corn 25 kilograms for £6.99, and the local farm sells bays of hay for £4. Yeah, so really, really cheap. I think ours is around £4 as well. So the straw is £2.50 per bale, and the hay is £3.50. And the other nice thing that ours does that I don't know whether others do, they actually bag up straw and hay that's left over. So often when a delivery of straw or hay comes in, once you've taken out all the bales, there's loads of stuff left that's come off, or bales have split and the baling twine has come off. Well, they then bag those up as well, and I mean they're selling basically an excess product that is just going to get swept away, but they sell those bags at £1. So if I can't get a bale of hay in the boot because I've got other stuff in there, I just get a couple of these huge bin bags worth of straw instead, and it's still way, way cheaper. Anna says, my hens are refusing to eat their layer pellets and leaving them. Any tips? What else are you feeding them? Mine will only mine will only eat layers pellets. Now I'm giving them fermented grain. They will eat the fermented grain first, and then they'll just top up on layers pellets. I actually only feed, or for years and years and years, I only fed layers pellets because layers pellets are carefully crafted to provide your hens with single thing they need. You can give them top-ups of greens, you can give them top-ups of calcium and things like that. But at the end of the day, your commercial layer pellet should be a completely stable product, an edible food source for everything that they need. Now, obviously, I give them fermented grain as well, so they always go straight for the grain first, and then they'll go for the layers pellets later on. If yours aren't eating layers pellets, it makes me question what else are you giving them that they favour, and what have they learned that if they don't eat their layers pellets, what are you going to give them? So I would try withholding whatever else you normally give them, because you know, a hungry hen will eventually go and eat some layers pellets. Yeah, Liz says stop giving them in treats. I might be mean, but I don't really give mine many treats. Sometimes, you know, we do the same with our dogs as well. You know, I know some people that spend lots and lots of money on dog treats. We don't treat our dogs at all. They get their base dry biscuits. And once a week, one of my egg customers comes and she brings them like a chew each. And that's all they ever get. Occasionally, I'll buy them a pig's ear or a cow's ear to have. But other than that, they don't get anything because it just upsets their stomachs. We bought them a couple of bones the other day as a treat because, you know, when you don't give your animals a treat, sometimes you think, oh, I've been really, really mean. I need to give them a treat. So we bought them a couple of bones. They both loved them, wolfed them down. And then 4 or 5 hours, Bo was pooing with blood in it because she'd wolfed it down and she'd split this bone up. And bone was, I mean, she's fine. She's totally fine now. But she'd wolfed that bone down. She'd bit it into fragments, even though it was a bone for dogs, and it just caused her problems. And I find again, other when I give them treats, it just upsets their tummies. So I don't treat my chickens at all. They never get any excess stuff. The quail are probably the most treated because they end up getting the spillage from the finches, and the dogs don't get treated either because it just keeps their stomach stable. Budgie Mojo says, I'm a plumber. Flexibility hand balm is the best thing for your hands. You're a plumber? And you live quite near to me as well. I'm gonna have to get your number because we've had all manner of boiler issues this week. I have managed to sort it out now. But yeah, I could do with a good plumber in my books because when things go wrong, you want somebody you know you can call on rather than calling somebody out an emergency fee on a Sunday. Antonio is here. Welcome to our chat, Antonio. He says, I have 3 Pharaoh quails. I have a question. All of them have speckled chest exhibiting the female variation. They are 2.5 weeks old. But one of them is starting to show red feathers in the middle of the chest. I don't know much about Pharaoh quail, Antonio, I'm afraid, because I've only ever kept Coturnix. So the Pharaoh quails. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the coloration, so I wish I could help you on that, but I don't really know anything about them. Liz is saying her birds haven't eaten as much during this cold weather. If they aren't moving around as much, I guess they need less fuel. Yeah, that's a possibility. I mean, mine will bulk up on their ferment, and then they don't care about their layers. So my 2 big things of layers pellets, I used to fill them up, and then 3 days later they were gone, and I had to refill every 3 days. I've been giving them 1 plant pot worth of barley grains, fermented barley grains. The pot's about this, so they get 1 of those a day, between 20, and I haven't changed the layers pellets for about 2 weeks now, so it's cut my feed bill considerably. The eggs are all still coming, so it's been great. Tickly Roach says, just hatched some quail. Because of a series of brooder malfunctions, I had to handle them more and earlier than I'd liked, and now they are scared of my hands. Is it possible to reverse this? I find the handling actually calms them down, because people often say to me, why, you know, they can't believe that I can pick up my quail. I always read things on Facebook. Oh, my quail were flighty. They flew all over the place. They used to fly into the mesh and kill themselves. They used to run away. Mine are calm as hell. And I think the only reason they are calm is because I handle them constantly. I would, if they are scared of your hands, I would just stop trying to touch them. Just get them used to you, because I don't generally pick my quail up very much when they're little. I go into their brooders every day to replace their water, to replace their food. So they kind of, I guess, they start to recognise my hand coming in as we're being fed or we're being given water. not we're about to be grabbed. So I would probably take that instinct. Try to stop picking them up if you can, and just make sure, just feed them, water them in their brooder. Make sure they get a good look at your hand as well, so they basically learn that your hand coming in is actually a source of food and a source of water. And then hopefully, like when I do it with my, to start with, they might run away and hide under their brooder plate. But now they're 2 weeks old. When I put it in, they're generally underneath my hand, running around, brushing my fingers, because they know it's coming in with food. So I would try that. I've got an itchy nose. Oh, Mole Valley. So AJ said, try a shop called Mole Valley for feeding and bedding. Not sure if it's a local shop. And then Liz says Mole Valley is a national chain. I've never heard of Mole Valley. What a lovely name for a shop. I want to go and find a Mole Valley now. Danielle says, if they... so this, I think, is back on the Fairy Quail. Danielle says, if they're still spotty chest at 6 weeks, they're definitely girls. Boys can have spots, then turn rusty red colour, which is a boy, and will start to crow at 6 weeks usually. Oh, well, there we go. So, Danielle, thank you. Danielle answered Antonio's question there. So, if the chest is starting to turn rusty red on one of them, it seems like you might have 2 girls and a boy. Charlie's here. Hello, Charlie. Welcome to the chat. We've still got a few minutes to go, 15 minutes or so to go, so you're not too late. You can still get a few questions in if you want. It's nice to see you as well. Susie says diatomaceous, I can never say this word, diatomaceous earth will keep red mites down. Yeah, I do use Mite Away or something. I can't even remember what it's used. It's like a talcum powder, and I squirt it into the nesting boxes, and I squirt it into the dust baths. The dust baths. And I've never had a problem with red mites so far. But I think prevention is easier than cure, because once you've got them, it's a bit of a nightmare. Gardening with AJ says, is talking about the Verdo, one of my favourite products. Verdo equine pellets, 15 kilograms is $5.52. It's good. I don't have chickens. Yes, so Verdo is excellent stuff. I love it. Robin says, my dogs get carrots and apples for treats because store-bought treats bother their tummies also. Yeah, and actually, if you've ever watched online videos about how they make rawhide, and especially the coloured rawhide, you will probably never feed rawhide to your dogs ever again, because it's pretty horrendous what goes into that stuff. But yeah, things like carrots, if they chomp on a carrot, that's great for them. That's good. Kat says, Mr. G had ham on the bone yesterday. I boiled the bone and gave the broth to my dogs and freezing weather treat, which is really, really good. I would really, really like to get my dogs into raw meat, because obviously we cull a lot of the chickens here to eat for ourselves, and I would like to be able to boil down the bones and make a broth and kind of feed them raw, feed them the offal and stuff. They won't touch it. I think they're princesses, these two. They won't go near the raw meat. I even tried to give them chicken hearts, chicken liver. I thought, come on, this has got to be yummy. They wouldn't touch it. Stupid dogs. Alana says, one of my dogs go mad for any kind of brassicas, so he gets cabbage leaves or broccoli for treats. Does he have really, really bad wind afterwards? Because I can imagine a dog... I mean, my dogs have bad wind at the best of times, but I can imagine giving my dogs broccoli or cabbage would result in a whole world of pain for my nose. Susie says, only give cows and pigs' ears with supervision, as when softened they are easy choking hazard. My friend lost a dog choking on a pig's ear. Oh, that's really, really interesting, and I had never known that before. I can't say I sit here and watch them eat them, but I'm normally in the house. What do you want? He's yowling. He's telling me that we haven't got long to go and he wants some food. Rob from Daybird Avery's is here, and he says pharaoh quail are the common Coturnix quail. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I'm going to have to look this up. Pharaoh quail, the common... But I haven't got any... Well, so I haven't got any Cotonex quail with red feathering on them at all. So I'm going to have to look this up because I didn't know that. KWLK says, what grain do you use for fermented grain? So I use barley. That's just what my local feed store had. They just had huge 25 kilogram bags of barley, I think, for £6. But you can use wheat, barley. You can even, I think some people even did it with some layers pellets, although I would think layers pellets would just go to complete mush and be gross. But yeah, so I'm using barley at the moment. And Daniel is saying Pharaoh is another name for the wild brown colouring. Okay, but mine don't have a rusty red colour, so I guess maybe I haven't got any true wild brown coloured birds. And as you've seen on the videos, a lot of mine are the Texan AMM birds as well, which are a cross between the Cotonex wild form and the larger English white. And it's bred mainly for meat, to have better meat on it. So I've got quite a lot of those. And actually my initial ones were those. And it was the eggs that I hatched out from those Texan A&M birds that started off all these different colours I've got. I didn't even know you could get different colours until they started hatching, which was kind of a miracle and really, really nice. Rob says, hi Liz, I survived the cold. I'm glad you survived the cold because we do like to see your face around here, Rob. Nola says, got to go, see you next week. Bye, Nola, thank you for stopping in on the chat. Tracy says, my hen stopped laying the last 2 weeks. Is it because of the cold? Yeah, almost certainly is because of the cold. They're gearing up for spring, and then this cold stretch came along. Mine have been the same. We were starting to lay quite a lot of eggs, and then suddenly this cold snap, and they closed up shop. But I can't really blame them because it is quite cold out there. Antonia says, well, the quail I have are also referred to as jumbos, common Cotonex, or common brown quails, if that helps. Yes, so I've learned something. So I didn't know that Pharaoh were the native or the natural quail colour. So that's really interesting to know. So it seems that Danielle, I think Antonio, has answered your question in that if they gain this rusty red coloration, they're boys. So I think you might have two girls and a boy. And I'm going to go out into the garden tomorrow and look at the my quails out there and see if I can see similar colorations on them. Charlie is saying, how are the zebra finches inside? They're really good. So I had the white hen and the pied male did lay eggs, and I've got cramp again in my leg. Ah! Oh, that's a bad one. They laid eggs, but that clutch wasn't fertile. They have started laying again. Oh, the cramp's going now. The fawn pair, I'm very excited. They are properly sitting tight. So the white hen and the pied male they laid eggs, they weren't fertile, and she wasn't sitting very tightly at all. The fawn pair are sitting tight, so they're doing the proper, when one comes out, the other comes in. They've been doing it about for a week, so we've probably got another week to go, and we'll hopefully have babies, and I will definitely do a little film on them. And I am going to do some videos on zebra finches and cage neighbour birds when the weather gets a little bit warmer as well. My white pair at the moment are doing nothing. Zilch. They have shown no interest in nesting. They don't even go to the nest basket. So I may have to split them and see what happens. Or I may have to put them back outside when it gets warmer. So we'll see. But there is movement up there, which is good. Callan Julia says, singing praise. I appreciate your open friendliness, Jeff, and also Liz. It must be said that I am a vegetarian and own no animals, yet love watching you lovely folk. I think that is saying something. Oh, thank you so much. I think friendliness makes the world go round, don't you? I think we all need to be. There needs to be more friendliness in our lives. Even if you don't necessarily like somebody, you can still be friendly to them in passing, and it makes everything a lot happier, in my opinion. Lana says, my dogs won't touch raw meat. Yes, mine don't at all. And Kat is agreeing she's vegetarian too, and the rest of the family are not. And I think, Alana, you're vegan, aren't you? So this is the other thing I really like. This is a homesteading channel. I eat meat. I cull my own birds. But we have a lot of people that are veggies and that are vegans. But we all share a passion for food, I guess, and a passion for animal welfare and keeping animals properly. And we kind of bonded over that, and that's why I really, really like that we've got this mix of people. There's no reason for all these different beliefs not to mesh together, and not to respect each other's opinions on it. I went to sort of a chicken party lately, which was basically a meet-up of loads of people off Twitter that keep chickens, and I think I was the only meat eater in the room. But it was great. We had some really, really awesome discussions about why they'd chosen to be vegan and why I still eat meat, and how I take pride in raising my birds so that they're not stressed. And they, although they are going into the food production chain, they're not stressed, and we eat them and we make sure they have the best life possible. And I think that respecting of each other's decisions and still being able to be friends is something that probably needs to be understood by a lot wider, the wider community of the world, because that's one of the things I really, really love about this channel and about you guys. Let me just scroll down. Oh no, we're at 1 hour 25 minutes, so we're going to wind down soon, because I need to go to bed soon. Ross has already gone because he hasn't got any beer. So good night, Ross. Buddy Mojo says, I've heard that quail eggs are good for hay fever. That is not something I've ever heard. I'd be very interested to get... I've got a long list. I'm going to have to go through this chat and write a long list of things down that I need to investigate, because I hadn't heard that, so I'm going to look that up. Kat says she fell asleep last week. No such luck this week because I'm at work. Was it today that I saw your post about going off across the snow trying to get to work? I can't remember. Calendula says mice hate mint. Yes, so I need to get some mint growing around the entrances to this very holy house. And Charlie is saying, how are the budgies? So the budgies are doing well. I'm waiting for that final budgie to come at the nest. I will have an update on it tomorrow on the Smallholding Diaries. It is disabled. Its leg is just stuck out at a funny angle. So I can't tell whether it was born that way, so it was actually born with a joint that was wrong, or whether maybe when it came out of the egg it hatched slightly wrong and it got twisted. I'm hoping it's that, because I don't want it to have been born with a deformity, because that then implies that possibly Pluto might have something wrong with his genes. We know that Sunny hasn't, because Sunny has has happily bred those 3 babies already. So that next baby will be out of the nest box, I would think, in a couple of weeks. As soon as that happens, the 2 new budgies will be sorted out. So I've got 2 new budgies, a blue boy, and he'll be going in. I'll be taking the nest boxes out, and he'll be going in with the other budgies. So the 3 babies, Sunny and Venus, who you've probably never seen because she lives in her nest box. He'll be going in there, and then I'm going to be taking Pluto out and putting him with my new white and blue hen and putting a nest box on, because he hasn't actually bred this year, so I'd like to breed him with her and see how we go. Budgie Mojo says, block the mice holes with wire wool or brill pads. Yes, I know. I need to find out where they're getting in. There's so many holes, it's ridiculous. I think they're coming in under the boiler and up the wall. So I need to get some wire wool in there and try and stop them. I know, I feel really sorry for this little budgie, but it will be fine. And budgies are very, very good, like dogs on 3 legs. Budgies are very good at getting around. So although it may not be able to perch properly, if it has a flat surface, it can sit on it. They get around with their beaks very well. Its wings are growing perfectly, so it should be able to fly. And I've got Luna, who has French molt. So she has no wings, she can't fly. So she lives in a little cage on her own. I always feel bad that she's on her own, but I can't put her into the main aviary, especially when they're breeding, because we don't know enough about French molt yet. There's no concrete reason how it spreads, why it spreads, so you don't want to keep French molt budgies with other budgies that are breeding, because they can pass them on to the chicks. Adults seem immune against catching it, but chicks seem to be open at catching French molt. And then once chicks have it, if they go from nest to nest, they can then pass it on. So she lives on her own. So if this new little chick comes out and it is probably disabled, I'm going to get it to live with Luna. And then hopefully Luna and this new chick can have a nice little life together in a separate cage. And I won't feel so bad for poor old Luna just being on her own all the time. Charlie has the fox been back? Yeah, so the fox is back most nights, sadly, and especially in this snow, I've seen his fox prints everywhere. The two sheds, so the two chicken sheds are completely locked up at night, so he can't get in, and I have taken to bringing all my Silkies in. So I have that cocoon coop where I used to just bring Barry in at night because of the crowing situation, and now because I've got the 3 hens in there as well, I now bring all 4 of them in at night. I'm just really, really nervous about him chewing through the wooden top again. I mean, I've really put a nice new roof on it and it's sturdy, but the one night that I thought, right, I'm going to risk it, I'm going to leave them out and see what happens. I brought Barry in, but I left the 3 pullets out there. That one night, he attacked it again, the fox. He didn't get them, he didn't get through, he didn't even sort of chew the wood, he just tore off all the weatherproofing. But he knew that they were in there that night and he tried to get to them. So I'm now bringing them in because I'm just not confident. At some point I'll have to stop that because it's a lot of work bringing everybody in all the time. But yeah, so he has been back, sadly. Right, everyone. Well, I've just reached the end of the chat. It was Anna's with a smiley face at 23:30, so 11:30. I think I'm going to call it a night, because I have done a 10-hour shift today. As I said earlier, I've walked 27,000 or more than 27,000 steps. So I think I'll call it a night. Thank you all so much for checking in on our live chat as normal. It's a pleasure to sit down and speak to you, no matter how tired I am. I always love this time of the week to come and sit and talk to you guys, catch up, have a chat. Look out for the videos coming this week. So we'll have our normal small hoarding diaries tomorrow. We've got a great chicken check-in from over in Australia coming up on Wednesday, and then hopefully we'll get back to our normal routine of a Friday video next week. I'm sorry there wasn't one this week. I was working all day. By the time I got home it was dark. We just had so much snow, I just didn't get a chance. But there will be a regular Friday video next week. But for now, have a fantastic night or afternoon or morning, wherever in the world you are. And I hope to see you again very soon. Bye.